You're listening to Your Happy Place podcast. Each week, we will be bringing you interviews with real estate experts and investors. The show features interviews and discussions on real estate investing, property management, and inspiration. With your host, Jenna Ross.
I'd like to say welcome to Scott Gannon, Wealth Building Strategist with MGM Wealth. Hi, Scott.
Hi, Jenna. Thank you for having me.
Can you tell us about your experiences as a real estate investor?
Well, I'm a little old in that area, so I started studying it, I guess, in the 2000s. I spent several years kind of studying it as an alternative way of building wealth, as I was working as a financial advisor. And after 2008, I started studying a lot harder at it, and started studying investing in the U.S. as well. So I started doing that and did it for a couple of years. Took a course in Chicago in 2012, and it was specifically on multifamily investing in the U.S. My wife and I both went down, spent 6 days there, learned a wealth of information, came back all excited, gathered up whatever capital we had and refinanced our house, a line of credit, make sure we had capital ready to go, and ran into some roadblocks starting off because even in as late as 2012, U.S. banks, especially to foreigners, weren't real forthcoming with mortgages. But we kept at it, and eventually at the end of 2012 in December, we closed on our first property. We bought a 10-unit apartment building in Florida. Followed a couple of, I guess, 20, so it would have been a little over a year later, about 15 months later, we bought another 12 units in Florida as well. And we did really well with them. They cash flowed well. They gave us growth because we bought at a good time. And about 2017, we closed on the last one. 2016, 2017, we sold those to bring capital back, mostly because we were making money as not only with the growth of the buildings, but the exchange was very, very favorable when we bought them. And of course, we made money on that as well. So we were able to bring a fair bit of capital back. Now, going backwards again, maybe we should have been looking at refinancing because they were making money. But we did do well on them. Took some lumps along the way, went through some property management headaches that I guess are inevitable when you're 3,000 miles away. And but yeah, we did well with it. We brought money back here. We since bought a 22 acres of development land, so we're working on a commercial development. That's been a bit of a headache as well because hey, they don't. The city doesn't do anything unless all the ducks are in a row, and we're living and learning that although we're a partner on this and there's people with more experience than us, that development doesn't bring cash flow real fast. But we're still going and actively looking.
That's excellent. And what a big project to jump in to the project in the States. That's very brave of you. I've always been curious about that. Certainly in the past, it's been something very enticing and something I wish I knew more about. I would have liked to have had that experience just to know what that's all about and what it's like. So that's really exciting.
Yeah. So what I did learn was that, and again, these were some excuse me. They were the management from a distance, I think, works better with size, and I just don't think we were big enough to get the the management cost or the inherent cost, because there's one way or another they were getting paid. I mean, we had some hiccups along the way for sure. Went through a couple of different property managers, but we really had to either dig in our heels and drive this to a whole lot more units, or bring it back home. And so we decided to bring it back home just so that Tammy could be more active with it, because that's more her thing. I do a lot of the calculation part of it.
Nice. The analysis. So you guys,
Yes,
sounds like you make a great team, which is very important.
it helps there for sure.
Yes. So moving on to what you provide for your clients in wealth strategy, who would be your ideal client?
Well, my ideal client is a business owner, or at least part-time, which if it is part-time, it's almost always real estate. They must be open-minded, coachable, and decisive. The reason I say that is the way I do things is going to be it's like I always say, I do the opposite of what other financial advisors do. That's why they got to be open-minded, because what they're going to hear from me is not something they're necessarily going to have heard before from an advisor. Many of my clients are actually realtors that invest as well, which make them business owners on both sides of the fence. They're a business owner when they start, and then whether they're investors first or realtors first, they're business owners from the gate.
Interesting. So how has you being a real estate investor yourself and having that experience, how has that enabled you to help your clients?
Well, being a real estate investor is a business. Understanding the unique challenges of owning a business enables me to relate well to their aspirations and easily see how they can be improved.
Right.
I've been a business owner myself right from the start. I've never actually, since graduating university, I've never actually been employed anywhere. I've always been in business myself, whether it be as a financial advisor and as a real estate investor. So I believe I bring a very unique perspective from both sides of the fence. Whether you're whatever business you're in, I can certainly relate.
Yeah, that's really neat, because I don't know, I can't even think of another financial advisor that I've come across that does openly invest in real estate. So I think it's really an asset for sure. Yeah. And
So, and a lot of times they may, but they won't necessarily share it either. So
yeah, that's true too. Yeah. And how do you help to accomplish your clients' goals?
first thing is mindset. This goes back to the being open-minded, or the ideal client is you must be open to new ways of thinking. Once clients understand this, we work on control. And that is what cash flow and capital. Always be in control of both. When you're accumulating and when you're deploying, you need to be always in control of your capital. When you're in control, it tremendously reduces your risk.
And one thing I'm kind of thinking, and I'm hearing a lot these days from a lot of financial advisors and finance people, is to right now, especially, to have cash on hand. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, that's really the thrust of the way I do things is cash, or I try to define it more like liquidity, and because cash is inherently liquid, as long as what you have available to you is liquid, you can lay your hands on within, basically say 3 to 5 days, or even 0 days. The opportunities that you come across will be that much more exponential, if you will, if you can act quickly. And real estate is no different than any other business or investment vehicle that way, and that the best gains come from jumping at opportunities. That doesn't mean you do it carelessly. You obviously do your due diligence, but those who can move the quickest get the best deals.
How are you adapting to the current COVID-19 situation?
Well, me adapting to it, it's been, let's face it, I'm in a very nice prison here. It's 3 levels. so I'm living the dream of as a prisoner, I guess, if you will. But yeah, no, from a business perspective, adapting, it really hasn't changed much for me, in that although I am very much love being eyeball to eyeball with people and meeting people, like going to your guys' meetups physically. I mean, obviously I've been to one so far with online. There's, technology today in my world allows me to keep working. I've been busy, and actually first going off when we first got locked down, so to speak, for about the first 3 weeks, I was just as busy, if not busier, than I was before. And but a lot of that was things I had in the works before we got locked down. So yeah, it hasn't. Adapting. I'm definitely a little more savvy with doing stuff online.
Yes.
Being visible. Like
yeah.
I've done a few. I have a few clients in Ontario and Newfoundland that I deal with, and I was always afraid of doing, the Zoom idea, and I don't know why I'm afraid, but I was just better on the phone. I guess it was just something new to me that now it got thrust upon me. Now I can't imagine not talking to, client A in Oakville without actually seeing them now. So, so some of the adaption's been very positive, that I'm a little more comfortable sitting at my screen.
Yes, yeah, it is. It is something that everyone's kind of had to adapt to. And personally, I enjoy it because with team meetings and Zoom calls like we're doing now, our listeners will hear the audio piece, but there's a lot of nonverbal communication that comes across, and especially when you're talking sales or guiding somebody through something, you need to see their body language. Are they understanding what you're saying, or completely confused, or are they folding their arms and saying no thanks?
Exactly. Actually, and you talk about being able to do things on screen or see things on screen. It's, as you know, because my lacking in tech savviness, I brought a whiteboard to when I did a presentation at your meetups, and go figure. There's a proverbial whiteboard you can do online. This PDF annotator is my new best friend. Right, I can actually draw pictures.
Yeah, maybe that was created for you. Yeah, that's great.
Thinking of me when they created that.
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
Yeah.
So what is your number one goal that you have when you're working with your clients?
The number one goal is to get them to think differently about money and banking. I haven't really, excuse me, I haven't really brought this up yet. The thrust of what I do is help people control their money, but I also get them to think like a banker, and they must learn to control the banking function in their lives. And a big thing people don't necessarily think through, and if you do, you certainly see it very clearly, is what is the most important business in the world, and that is banking, because nothing else happens without banking. You and I can't do business together without a bank involved. So banking is everywhere. So if you can control the banking function in your life by controlling your own money, then you're going to be a step ahead. So it's really, the number one goal is to get them to think differently about what I'm bringing to the table.
Excellent. Yeah, I never really thought of banking that way, but nothing happens without banking.
No, exactly.
And that's certainly true these days. So what unique perspective do you bring to your clients that's different from working with a typical financial advisor?
Well, again, the thrust is mindset and control. When you think financial advisor, you likely think asset gatherer. I do the opposite. Instead of putting your money away and hoping, I position it for liquidity, use, and control. And again, it goes back to that liquidity we were talking about earlier there, about holding cash and having liquidity. Having liquidity and control of your assets at the right times is paramount to I guess above average or excessive wealth or exponential wealth building. It also helps you, when you're in control, it also helps you eliminate risk, or at least tremendously reduce it. Put another way, rather than planning, a second area where I think that makes me different than the typical is, rather than planning for the end of working, or planning for the end, or planning to be put out of service. Yeah, I don't know if you know the definition or the The meaning of the word retirement is defined as to take out of service.
Hmm.
So for all intents and purposes, your active life is dead, so to
Right.
speak. So I don't like to plan for the end of working days. I like to tell people that what I do is more helping them lifestyle plan, more here and now versus waiting and hoping.
Right.
So not that tomorrow isn't important, but if you take care of things properly today and, basically expand your lifestyle, believe it or not, will help you down the road. And most of your listeners will understand that anyway, if they're involved in any kind of rental real estate. I mean, that's the ultimate inflation protector and income protector, because as long as you do your due diligence and go into an opportunity like that with coming out with cash flow, it's only going to get better with time. And not that it's not without risk. Obviously, there are hiccups along the way. Something like we're dealing with right now could be a very big hiccup. But generally speaking, it's a vehicle that's going to give you income for as long as you want it, and it will be indexed to inflation.
Yeah, and certainly from personal experience, we're finding right now we're very happy with our real estate investments, and we're happy that we have them. We would be in big trouble if a lot of that money was in the stock market.
Yeah, exactly.
In something like oil or, all kinds of things. So it's something that even stands the test of time for right now, because people need homes.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
need to rent homes. Yeah.
You start bringing up the stock market. I've had a few clients call me lately, and this doesn't happen to me very often, by the way. People actually call and thanking me. When things are good, I never hear from people. When things are bad, I hear from people.
Yes.
So actually having people call and thank me is been helpful. I've had some people frustrated sitting in cash just because, and they weren't it was like my suggestion to them was, it's coming. Something's going to happen now. I've been saying it for 3 years, so I became the boy who cried wolf for a couple of years, but
Yeah.
they're thanking me now. They're like, cash doesn't go down. Right? So,
Yeah, we were kind of due for something like this to happen since
exactly.
2008. It was, it was going to come. It was just a matter of
sure.
when it was going to come again. It's very cyclical, but here
Absolutely.
we are. So one thing I wanted to ask you is if you could provide one piece of advice to real estate investors who are newly getting started and looking at investing in real estate, what would that be?
Well, I guess I'll go back to this banking thing. I would give them to start thinking like a bank. Take some time and study and gain a clear understanding of how banks make money. The two words to keep in mind are control and velocity. Banks don't let money stay still. Banks use what we call velocity. So they constantly move in the money. You deposit money into your bank account, they're lending it out. And as soon as that person starts paying it back, they're lending it out again, all the while. And that's velocity. It's multiple use money. And I talk a lot about multiple use. And again, that's probably a little more in depth than our conversation today, but the multi-use aspect, if you can position yourself in that way, you're going to be in a great position as an investor. Now, you mentioned there about newly starting with also asked a little bit about somebody just starting in real estate. The first and foremost thing that I would, it's one thing about mindset or thinking like a bank, but real estate investing takes education. Just like the way I teach people how to manage their money is education. Real estate, absolutely education. And there's, two things that I would absolutely say to do is pay attention to Facebook groups like you guys have, the investors Facebook group. People are there. People are willing to help all the time. You just got to be willing to ask questions. But first and foremost is on the walk-in billboard for Read Rich Dad Poor Dad. That book is that. It's funny. It's promoted as, or not even promoted, it's recognized as the top selling real estate book of all time. But if you ask Robert Kiyosaki, he tells you Real estate just happens to be the vehicle that he used. The book is about mindset and thinking like a business owner.
Yeah.
That's what he tells you. The book is a business book, not a real estate book, but it is the top selling real estate book of all time.
Yes, and it's excellent, and it's certainly the book that got a lot of people started,
Yeah,
myself
absolutely.
and Greg included. Yeah, that book was definitely big up on the inspiration list for getting us going.
For
Yes.
sure.
Can you tell us a little bit about the work that Christina helps your clients with as a cash flow specialist?
Christina, she's awesome. Christina is what's called a certified certified cash flow specialist. And what that means is she's taken a course to understand how people manage their monthly cash flow or weekly, whatever. And she helps her clients gain perspective of where they are. A lot of times, there's really nothing wrong except maybe the timing of payments or the timing of deposits in a certain way. Or it might be as simple as we'll go to say your car insurance, paying it annually versus monthly. If you know you have the capital available to do that, it will save you money. So there's certain things that she basically gets into the weeds. A lot of things that I can help people with myself, but Christina is just way better at it. Like she can get in the weeds and understand very quickly how to bring something to the table, and whether it be just a method of getting out of debt or getting cash flow positive. I've had clients I've brought to her that they send in a financial questionnaire and they're negative $1,000 a month, and it's like I'm just like. And so after she goes through it and has a couple meetings with them, the next thing you know, there's money on the table. So she's a bit of a wizard.
That's awesome, and I've personally met her, and she is really exceptional. And that's a really important thing, to look at your personal finances, your business finances, and a lot of businesses are kind of taking a look right now and trying to look at their spending, and they're finding that they spend a lot of money on stuff that's not really adding value, that they just kind of let slide, different subscriptions, just different Amazon Prime. Maybe you're not ordering from Amazon,
That's right.
or who knows, right? It all adds up. It's very important.
For sure. Yeah, no, and she takes it. She takes it and she teaches people. And it's funny, her business, like she took this course, I don't know, whatever, 3, 4, 5 years ago, and but she's evolved since then. I mean, she's developed her own, because she does it herself. She lives and breathes it. Like, so she's implemented tips and tricks, or she's offered tips and tricks she's used for herself to clients. For instance, when it comes to part of her groceries, she'll get a side of beef as opposed, and put it and freeze it, and like she doesn't buy meat in the grocery store. So those kind of things that depending on how eager you are to be ruthless with your cash flow, there's things you can do that can really free up money that people just don't necessarily think of, nor should they. I mean, that's people are busy, and that's why a certified cash flow specialist has something to offer.
Yes, a second set of eyes to kind of look from outside in a non-judgmental way.
Exactly.
And the idea about buying a side of beef or something like that is also the healthy aspect of it too. There's a lot of choices that might be better for cash and also better for your health, which is a perfect segue to the next question. What do you do personally to keep your mindset and your body fit to be able to have the energy to bring your clients the value that you bring?
Well, that's a great question, and it starts with I meditate, and that was brought on by where I actually do my daily workouts as well. Blended Athletics, Dave Rayfuse, the owner of, who's a member of our networking group, and I've been a member there for over 3 years now, and I've been in and out of gyms for 30 odd years. And this is the first gym I've ever gone to that, I didn't at least take a 6-month or a 4-month break at some point inside of a year. I've been basically probably close to 40 months now, I guess. And with the exception of COVID closing down the gyms, I've been in there consistently. I've had the odd week off because I've been traveling or something, but I've always gotten back in. It's a great place to be. And they've pivoted quite well. I now get my daily workouts online, and I'm working out at home, a lot of body weight stuff. But it goes back to the meditation too. I started meditating about a year ago, and then I stopped after about 6 weeks because like I mentioned earlier, I've mentioned it before. Maybe I didn't mention on this podcast that I have ADD, and I always thought all the voices in my head. Meditation wasn't working. But Dave actually, he taught me how to do it, even though he said he's the exact same way, and really it boils down to being able to kind of let the voices in, and if it's negative, kick it out mentally. So it's still meditation, even though there's a lot going on in there. Doesn't mean you have to turn your mind off. You just need to control it better.
Yeah, it's so important for a positive mindset. And that's certainly something that I think most entrepreneurs, myself, my husband, a lot of people that we've met that we have in common, Scott, have that going on. And it's where you get all your ideas from, but you do need to kind of quiet it sometimes so you can sleep at night, and so that you can shut it off somehow. And I think that meditation is likely the key there. Yeah.
Oh, it really is. And I do, everything's in the morning before I start my day. Is meditate and then work out, ready for the day. So it's, and a shower, of course, even though I'm at home, and really, the shower still absolutely fine.
Yeah, you have to do those kind of things.
Routines,
get dressed, put on, pants, even though you're home. It's a new way of living. But yeah, all of that makes it a little bit easier to kind of be productive, which we all still need to be when we're running businesses, right?
Yeah, I could easily go back to that COVID question there. Say the one thing that is how am I adapting? I started combing my hair. Like I always got my hair so short that I never ever combed it. I just that's it. Just get shaved off every 5 weeks.
Awesome.
But now I'm combing it.
That is funny. Oh my goodness. Yes. So what kind of real estate deals are you guys keeping your eye out for at the moment?
Well, I'm a broken record on that. The current real commercial development that is taking a lot of Tammy's time. So I'm the searcher, so to speak. Now, when I get in time, it's trying to find income producing multifamily. Coming to find out, or I shouldn't say coming to find out, we found out in the last few years when trying to look around here, it's a little more challenging. The cash flow available in the U.S. is certainly higher than it is here. But we're just actively looking for multifamily income producing property. I think you and I we had a chat actually not all that long ago, a few months back, about that I was going to start looking in Moncton, and then suddenly, I don't know, my head went down, and I haven't looked that hard. Oh, actually, what happened? That was back in November. I ended up going to the hospital for a few days, and that kind of anyway. I just suddenly I got busy after that, and I stopped looking at Moncton. But I think I got to go back. It seems to be a good spot to me.
Yeah, as I've mentioned on my podcast, it's my hometown, and you'll be able to hear an interview from Tony LeBlanc, who has ground floor property management in Moncton, and certainly he's someone to chat with on that.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a good. I feel like it's a good place to invest as well for multifamily. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, you find the perfect opportunity being, something that you can force the appreciation on right away by renovating it or just getting rents up, and but as long as the cash flow is there, if there's some cash flow there of some kind starting off, generally, if you put your ducks in a row and make the right contingency plans, vacancy and maintenance and those sorts of things, you'll be fine.
Yes, for sure. It's a growing city there as we are here. So very, very exciting things happening there. And can you recommend a real estate investing book to our listeners?
I think I already mentioned it.
Yeah.
I'm a big advocate for the Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'm trying to remember the first book I read, and I honestly can't. It's been so long ago, I can't even remember what it was. It's about probably 20 years ago I read it, and got me interested enough. But I honestly can't remember what it was called. And it was something along the lines of, become a real estate millionaire with no money down type of thing. And it was I mean, it sounded great in theory, but it was challenging in practice for sure. Try to do things without actually having any money. Not that it can't be done. I mean, people do it, but
Right.
it's I don't have the time resource, because that's really what you have to be able to commit time to do it that way.
That's right.
So I would the fallback for me would be Rich Dad Poor Dad, and be, it's like you say, be active on the websites. Another one out of the States is Bigger Pockets. You can learn a lot just going on that as well. They've got built-in courses there. I mean, I think they charge a fee for some of that stuff. But
Yes, for sure. Bigger Pockets is a big one as well.
There's
Yeah.
really good information there for learning. The key to learning about now, and again, Rich Dad Poor Dad won't necessarily teach you this, is knowing how to analyze a cash flowing property. There's a unique perspective to that, and I got a lot of that from the course that I took. So it wasn't an actual book. It was the 6-day course that I took. And I've kind of expanded on it myself, and I shouldn't say not really expanded on it, but I guess just kept practicing it, and trying to see things for what they are. But and again, a big part of that too is mentorship, right? Just really get out and meet people. I mean, obviously it's a little difficult right now, but being active on your guys' real estate investor site is a great way to broaden your network. And if things, people will share. I will anyway. Just ask me. I'll help. And I'm sure anybody will. Is anybody that's interested in it. And it's like I say, it's not work for me. Like I love this stuff.
Yes, I do as well. And I completely agree that reaching out, connecting with other investors, more seasoned investors, people that have been around doing it for a number of years are generally interested in helping others. And especially if they're still coming out to the networking events, it feels good to share stories and connect with others. And I think, it's what it's all about. I think it's very important. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I could give you a different book to read, but I can't think of one off the top of my head. I know I've read lots of them. I just something that.
No, it's a good one, and there's a reason why it gets mentioned over and over again, because it's kind of a classic, but it's because it's such a good book.
For sure.
Yeah. So, what are you excited for this year, personally?
What am I excited for this year? I was excited for rugby season for my daughter until that got canceled. But that was, I shouldn't say canceled yet. My daughter plays provincial rugby, and she also plays high school. Of course, high school was shut down. And I was, like I said, short-term excited from a personal standpoint is just watching the progress she's made, like the commitment she made over the winter to get better. Absolutely blew me away. It was she surprised me. I knew she was motivated, but she surprised me in the commitment she made and the improvements she made. And then all of a sudden it just got shut down. And so that was a big letdown for her. But hopefully provincial team happens. That starts mid-June. Or actually they would be starting the ID camps for that pretty much now, but of course it's still abbreviated, but they don't actually play until the summertime. So hopefully that happens.
That's great that she's had the work ethic and drive to improve so much. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So, and as for from a business or activities, yeah, I'm excited to see the end of this COVID thing. That's for sure. And just actually excited to find something to invest in as well.
Yeah.
I'm excited about a lot of things. I'm very excitable.
Yes. Yes. No, that's good. It's awesome.
And yeah, look, I got itchy feet, so sitting around a lot is I definitely, yeah, I'm glad we're doing this. It's occupying me, right? My mind needs to be occupied, or I just go crazy.
That's it. That's so important. So where is your happy place?
That's almost a follow up to the previous question. Really, my happy place is following my kids around, and for years and years it was a rink for my son who's in university now, and or the rugby pitch for my daughter. My daughter's gone through a few things. She was a swimmer, she was a dancer, and now she's a rugby player. So it's been diverse, but she's been pretty good at everything she's done too. So once I think she's committed now to. She tried dance and rugby, and that just seemed like
Yeah,
wasn't she was so
two different activities.
she took the road of course it might have been a little bit guided by us too, is dance is very I don't know, like she grew up in a both myself played competitive sports, Tammy played competitive sports, but Tammy played fast pitch softball, and she's a golfer now, but stuff that you can score.
Yes, winning. Yeah.
Dance is subjective, and that's why we always had a problem with dance. It was always frustrating to understand where they come from when they're scoring.
That's so funny.
She came along for the ride. She really loves rugby, so it's a little scary for us. She has had a concussion, but
right.
But she's tough. She's tough and strong, and she's willing to learn. So that's been fun. And my son's he's at the latter stages. I'm hoping he might play a little bit of junior hockey this fall. He played a little bit last year, but not much. He was focused on school, but yeah. So it's like I said, I got to look for the next thing for my happy place, because it was for years and years. It was I was in a rink 5 days a week, so and loved every minute of it. Practice, game didn't matter.
That's awesome. Yes, being active and family is so important. And I think this situation we all find ourselves in is kind of bringing that back into focus for a lot of people. And myself, I'm kind of happy to see things slow down temporarily. Yeah.
A little time to breathe, eh?
Yeah, not constantly racing from activity to activity. So yes. So I do want to say quickly before we wrap up that it's been a pleasure meeting you. It was I would say last summer that we met through a networking group, and really a fan of your leadership that you have with our group, and also just it's leadership, but it's also the fact that you're willing to help people, and that you focus on helping others first and providing value. And I know that you really care about your clients and the outcome, and your goal I know is to help others out first and foremost. So that's amazing. And I think that's why you're so successful at what you do. So thank you.
Oh, wow. Am I blushing? Thank you very much, Jenna. That was awesome. And yes, I feel very lucky to have met you. I think it was June when you started coming to the group there, that we were last year, or late June, or somewhere around there, when the group really started to grow and Deline took over. And yeah, it's been great. You've been very open and helpful to me. I mean, you got me in to speak at your meetup group, and that was great. That was a great experience. And yeah, and the networking group, I look forward to it every week. And I always notice if you're not there. So I feel lucky to have met several people in that group this year, and you're definitely at the top of that list. I appreciate you doing this with me too.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. It was a great discussion, and it will definitely have to be to be continued, and we'll definitely check back with you in a few months. And I have my fingers crossed that in a few months we'll be talking about different things, and we'll be forgetting about the fact that we can't leave our home much.
Absolutely.
So I guess the final question that I should be asking you is where can our listeners go to find out more about you? How can they reach?
Well, yeah, so I have, you call numbers 902-478-2620, email scott@mgmwealth.com. You can get me directly there. I'm easy to find.
Yes, that's perfect. Well, I want to thank
you
you again for coming on the podcast, and we'll definitely have you back very soon.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Jenna. Appreciate it. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks again, Scott.
All right.
Thanks for listening to Your Happy Place podcast. Please subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review so that we can get our podcast out to more listeners. If you would like to contact us, please send an email to podcast@happyplacepm.com.